everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for a video in which I recommend books to some characters from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my favourite television program of all time, so I decided that it would be fun to recommend some books to some of the characters. A few months ago I did a similar recommendations video where I recommended books to some of the Heartstopper characters. I will link that in the description below. I really enjoyed doing that video and I wanted to do more of the kind, so I've decided to go back to my roots, back to my favourite TV show, and recommend some books for Buffy characters. I'm actually going to do this video in two parts. I'm not 100% sure when the second part will go up, but keep an eye on my channel if you enjoy this video and you want to see the second part. This first part is going to be encompassing characters from season 1 to 4. I've decided to do it this way because I do think there's a lot of character growth in all the seasons, but in particular 3 and 4, when they finish high school and start university, I think there's a lot of character growth. So the 4 main characters, Buffy of course, Willow, Xander and Giles, will be recommended books in both videos, but I'm going to be recommending books to the person that they are in season 1 to 4 in this video, and the person that they become in season 5, 6 and 7 in the second video. And then I'm going to recommend books in this video to some of the characters that are important in the first 4 seasons, and then I will recommend some books to some of the characters that are important in the last 3 seasons. Like I said, the reason for that is partly because I do think there's a lot of character growth and change, but also there are just so many important characters and I didn't want to miss anyone out. But if I did include all of the characters that I find really interesting, compelling, important, then I would probably talk forever. So I'm also splitting it up basically because of a timing. I thought it would be better to have 2 videos rather than one really long video. So that's what we're going to do today. The first character that I want to recommend a book to is Buffy, the titular character in the entire series. So as the name suggests, and if you don't know, which I feel like most people know a little bit about Buffy, but on the off chance that you don't know, Buffy is a vampire slayer, as the name of the show suggests. Within the Buffy universe, the mythology is that every generation, or every generation, but essentially whenever it's necessary, a slayer is called, and when the slayer is called, that is when they are imbued with supernatural powers. So essentially similar powers to what the vampires themselves have. Supernatural strength, agility, dexterity, everything that you would need to fight vampires and other evil supernatural creatures. Buffy is the latest in the series of vampire slayers that have been called throughout time. You cannot have more than one slayer at a time because, well, it's never really 100% explained, although it is explored, some of the reasons and how that works and what could potentially happen. But you're not supposed to have more than one slayer at one time. When the current slayer dies, the next slayer is called. So Buffy is called. However, most slayers up until Buffy have been already aware that they could potentially become a slayer, been aware of the traditions. They are trained, they are taught all the different traditions and the ways of the vampire slayers. They are taken in by a watcher from the Watchers Council, who are sort of mentor for the slayers. But for various reasons, Buffy didn't actually manage to have that. So she grew up as a fairly normal girl. She was a high school cheerleader, very popular, very much just a kind of normal American teenager. And then she suddenly has this situation where someone approaches her, tells her that she's a vampire slayer, and then suddenly there are vampires everywhere and she's having to deal with that situation even though she has no idea. So she has all of the supernatural abilities all of a sudden, but she has no actual training in how to use them. So in a little bit in the movie, but mostly in the TV show, there's quite a lot of angst for Buffy because she just wants to be a normal girl, which is how she was until fairly recently. She just wants to be a normal girl. She just wants to be able to live like a normal girl and go back to some more of the fun, light-hearted activities that she used to do when she wasn't a slayer. So before she got called, you know, being a kid, being a girl, in the 90s in high school. So it's a constant sort of complaint and a constant concern for Buffy, particularly season 1 and 2, although all the way through really, but particularly those first 3 seasons when she is in high school, and a little bit also in season 4. So the book that I have actually recommended for Buffy is Bridget Jones's Diary by, who is that by? It'll be on screen anyway, so you can see who the author is. But anyway, Bridget Jones's Diary is a book that we follow Bridget Jones. Bridget Jones is a sort of normal human person in England. Again, I think it's set in the 90s, and it's just about her life. It's just about her various mishaps and the things that are important to her, the things that she wants, or the things she thinks she's not doing wrong, or doing right, I should say. And yeah, just someone kind of living their life, and it's in diary form. I personally think it's quite funny. I know that upon reread recently, people have found that there are some problematic elements, but I found it quite amusing. I really enjoyed Helen Fielding, that is the author's name. I really enjoyed Helen Fielding's writing style, and I think that Buffy would really enjoy it. I think that it would be a really great escape for her, and although she feels like she doesn't get to live the normal teenage experience, and although Bridget is living the 20-something experience, I feel like Buffy would appreciate being able to live vicariously through Bridget Jones. So that is the book that I have chosen for Buffy. The next character that I am going to recommend a book to is Willow. So Willow is one of Buffy's best friends. She is a very shy, nerdy girl in the first 2 seasons, and she's considered quite the sort of outcast in the school setting that she attends. Yeah, she's very into doing her homework, into school. She's very shy. She doesn't fit in with the popular kids. But as she is befriended by Buffy and starts to get embroiled in all of the various things that happen with Buffy and starts to find out more about the supernatural world, she starts to figure out that she has some supernatural powers of her own. She starts to become quite interested in witchcraft and starts to become a witch and develop those powers. And so the book that I'm recommending to Willow is All Our Hidden Gifts by Carolyn O'Donoghue. I'm reading this at the moment, so I'm only about a third of the way through the book, but I am really, really enjoying it so far. It is a young adult book about a young girl, well, I think she's in her late teens, Maeve, and Maeve one day finds a old set tarot cards, and she starts giving readings to her classmate, and she discovers that she is actually really good at tarot readings. It comes very naturally to her. I'm not 100% sure where it's going to go, but I get the sense that she is going to develop her power and figure out her power throughout the book, and so I think that would be something that Willow would be really interested in. I think that it would mirror the changes that Willow is going through and some of the things that she's experiencing while she is learning about her own power and becoming interested in witchcraft. So I think that would be really good for Willow to read. I think she'd really enjoy it, get a lot out of it, and just, yeah, feel like she's reading about someone who is similar to herself. The next character that I would like to recommend a book to is Xander. So Xander is the other best friend of Buffy. Xander is quite also the sort of geeky character. He is not particularly scholarly though. He is more like a class clown, joking around, but very much still not considered popular. He doesn't play any sports, and he's sort of a bit of an outcast as well. He's been best friends with Willow since they were children. One of the character traits of Xander, particularly in the first few seasons, although it is something that continues to be something he's interested in and enjoys throughout the entire series, is that he really loves comic books and graphic novels. He reads DC, Marvel, all of those sorts of superhero comic books, but I get the sense that he just likes graphic novels and that sort of oeuvre of things to read and to look at. I'm going to suggest, and I'm sure many of you can see this coming, I'm going to recommend to Xander Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. So this is, of course, the graphic novel series that is about Nick and Charlie, who are 2 high school boys in the UK who meet and form a friendship that blossoms into love. I just think that Heartstopper is just so sweet and heartfelt and fun. It's a very simple story, but very positive and very compelling, easy to read, fantastic characters. I think it's something that Xander would really enjoy, particularly given that these days his life has been kind of taken over by the supernatural, but because he doesn't fit into the supernatural, he's not a supernatural being himself, whereas before he used to love all the superhero comics because I guess they were so different for him. Now that he is in that world, I think that he would enjoy something that was more normal and more in the realm of what he used to have his life as like. Similar to Buffy, I think that he would appreciate something that was just normal and just regular life and not supernatural. So yeah, that's my suggestion for Xander. The next person that I want to recommend a book to is Giles, Rupert Giles. So Rupert Giles is Buffy's watcher, and we are introduced to him in the first episode as being the librarian. We soon learn that he is in fact her watcher, so he's supposed to be her mentor, and he's been sent to Sunnydale to meet her and to fulfill that role. At the beginning of their relationship, there's quite a lot of tension because he is very kind of old-fashioned, very British in the sort of stereotypical British way, like stiff upper lip, wears a lot of tweed, talks in very kind of proper Queen's English, and just seems to be very baffled by teenagers. Buffy is not the kind of person he was expecting. She didn't train as a Slayer, so she is a lot more American and a lot more of just a normal teenage girl than he was expecting. And so there's a lot of tension between them, but it creates some quite funny moments. He starts to become less stiff upper-lipped, and he starts to show more of his personality and show more of his interests as the seasons progress, and you start to see that maybe there's more to Giles than what he's presenting to begin with. But I do think that he really does genuinely like the research side of things and like getting to the bottom of things and finding stuff out, because he does always seem to have had an interest in the supernatural and in the macabre. The book I'm recommending to Giles today is The Five by Hallie Rubenhold. I think I'm saying that incorrectly. I do apologise, but it's on screen. So this is a book that is about the 5 women who were killed by Jack the Ripper, and rather than focusing, as so many books and documentaries and different expose things do, rather than focusing on Jack himself, it focuses a lot more on the women and tells their story and demystifies some of their stories, and yeah, it really dispels the idea that they were prostitutes and that really had anything to do with what was going on with Jack the Ripper, and just puts a face, a name, a story to these women who have mostly been sidelined, even though they are the victims. And I think that Giles would really appreciate that. I think that Giles would appreciate finding more about something that is very kind of iconically British, and I just think he'd appreciate the scholarship that went into that book. It's very well researched, and yeah, I just think that Giles would find it very interesting. So those are the 4 main characters that stay throughout the entire series, the entire show, and they are the 4 who will get more recommendations the next time I do part 2. But now I'm going to move on to the 3 characters who I think are very important characters and that I wanted to recommend books to from seasons 1 to 4. So the first of those is Cordelia. Cordelia Chase is the sort of stereotypical high school popular bully character. She's very rich, she is very popular, she's a cheerleader. She is displayed as being quite concerned with appearance and what people think of her and maintaining that popularity and that status. Like I said, she is rich, so she does have her own car. She is able to purchase lots of different outfits and experience a lot of different things that people who have money are able to do, and she very much lords that over people, and she's very much aware of, yeah, like I said, her status within the school but also within society in general. However, I do think there's more to Cordelia, and that is explored throughout these first 3 seasons of Buffy, and then later quite a lot more in Angel when she moves over to Angel. However, because of all of the interest in clothes, popularity, and all of that sort of thing, the book that I've recommended to Cordelia is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. Now, full disclosure, I don't really like this book. However, I do think that Cordelia would really enjoy the book. I think she would find it fun and funny. I think that she would like the idea of there being secrets that she could discover and secrets that she could learn about, because she actually, like I said, is quite intelligent and figures out Buffy's secret that she's a vampire slayer fairly early on. And I just think that I think she'd enjoy it. I think that she would end up being on the side of the main character, who is not one of the crazy rich Asians, who is kind of shunted to the side and looked down on because of who she is and who her family is. I feel like that's something that Cordelia presents as though that's something that's certainly something she does in the first few seasons, but I feel like she starts to develop more as a character and she would end up being more on the side of the main character, Rachel. But mostly I just think she'd find it fun and funny, so that is why I'm suggesting Crazy Rich Asians for Cordelia. The next character that I am going to recommend a book to is Oz. That is actually Daniel Osborne. Oz is first introduced as a love interest for Willow. However, he starts to develop some more of his own personality traits and a much bigger story arc throughout the seasons. He is a werewolf, which is something that he discovers throughout season 2, and that compels him to start, trying to figure that out. He gets much more embroiled in the supernatural elements when he starts dating Willow, who is the best friend of the Slayer, and so the Slayer's little circle expands to include both him and Cordelia. It also is one of the avenues through which the Scooby Gang, as they are known, and particularly Buffy and Giles, start to kind of explore the idea that maybe a demon or something that is considered not okay or wrong or dangerous to humans doesn't actually mean that you are those things, that maybe there's more, it's not so black and white, which is something that I really, really appreciate. I also just really like Oz's character. He's very laconic. He is just, he's a very sarcastic, very laconic, just really great character, really intelligent, really thoughtful, and very, very caring to those that he cares about, particularly Willow. He's in a band as well, so he's considered pretty cool, even though he's kind of a bit of an outsider at the same time, and certainly when he starts dating Willow, but because he's in a band, he's considered pretty cool. I'm going to recommend Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. The reason for that is that I just think that Oz would really, really enjoy it. I think that it's a very well written book and it's really, really interesting. I really enjoyed it. I've read it twice now and I've really enjoyed it both times. And it's not a book that I would have anticipated enjoying as much as I did, and I think that that's something that Oz would really, really appreciate. I think that he would really like the fact that there is quite a lot in the book, and that I'm not sure when the movie came out, but assuming that he could have watched the movie, I think the movie is good, it's fun, but I think there's a lot more in the book than the movie would suggest, and I think that that's something that Oz would really like, that something is deeper and different from how they present, because I think that is Oz's character. So yeah, that's why I'm suggesting Jurassic Park for Oz. And the last character that I'm recommending a book to is Angel. So Angel is the vampire with a soul. So the mythology of Buffyverse is that when you become a vampire, your soul leaves you and kind of still exists somewhere off in the ether. It's never really explained where the souls go, but it doesn't get destroyed or anything like that. It still exists. So vampires don't have a soul. Angel does have a soul because 90 years from when we meet him in the show, he was cursed by gypsies to be given his soul back. So the idea behind that is that when he was a vampire without a soul, he did all these horrible things, but he never felt any remorse or concern for what he'd done because he didn't have a soul. So they give him a soul back so that he would then have to feel all the horrible things that he has done for a few hundred years, and he would be tortured, and yeah, it would just be a horrible, horrible curse that would be put on him. So when Buffy meets him, the first reaction that she meets him is that he's some mysterious but good-looking stranger who has all these random things, hints about things that are coming and things that are happening. Then they sort of start to develop a bit more of a rapport. He starts to appear more often and they develop a relationship, but it is ultimately doomed because the curse is that he can't experience a moment of true happiness. If he does, he will lose his soul again and he will become the vampire Angelus, which is his evil incarnation. So he's very tortured, he's very, his life is the product of revenge, he's got this curse on him, he can't, experience either normal human situations or normal vampire situations because he can't be a vampire and kill because he will immediately feel terrible about it and it'll be all dreadful, but he can't experience normal human experiences because he can't risk losing his soul. Anyway, he meets Buffy and they fall in love and yeah, things happen. But the book that I'm going to recommend for Angel is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas, I think, but it'll be on screen. I've never actually read The Count of Monte Cristo. Pretty certain I've watched the movie, but I don't remember much about it. But my partner Rowan and I were talking about this video I was going to make, and he suggested it because of the nature of the revenge story and the tortured character. So he thought that it would resonate with Angel, but also it would be something that would be a good thing for him to kind of learn from and a good way for him to, figure more stuff out about himself and his situation and stuff like that. So that is the book I'm recommending for Angel. So those are all the characters and all the books that I'm recommending today from the TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. This is for the first 1 to 4 seasons. Like I said, I'll do season 5, 6 and 7 another time. So that's it from me today. Please do leave me a comment and let me know what books you would have recommended for these characters. If you've got any suggestions for any of the other characters you think I might be going to recommend books for as well, please comment that below as well. Have you seen Buffy or have you not seen Buffy? Would you like to watch Buffy? Let me know all of that in the comments below as well. If you'd like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me a weapon because Buffy uses a lot of different weapons. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next time.